Now, Boris Johnson has said the government will not hesitate to use the army to help free up police time to enforce COVID-19 rules. Addressing the Commons yesterday, Boris Johnson said we will provide the police and local authorities with extra funding they need, greater police presence on our streets, and the option to draw military support where required to free up the police. Downing Street said soldiers could backfill certain duties, such as guarding protected sites, so that officers could focus on responding to the coronavirus. However, Martin Hewitt from the National Police Chiefs Council said any military support must be assessed carefully. At the moment, no military involvement is necessary, nor do we anticipate this will be needed. So why has Mr Johnson suggested it? Let's speak to General Lord Richard Dannatt, former Chief of General Staff of the British Army. Lord Dannatt, afternoon to you. I mean, I appreciate the Army do lots of different roles, and they're often called on all over the world to do many things, and perhaps half the time we don't hear about it. Did this comment from the Prime Minister strike you as unusual at all?
Hi, good afternoon. No, it didn't strike me as unusual, because as you said, at the end of the day, the military is often called in to help out. If you just think back over the last, 10, 15 years, awful lot of things beginning with F, whether it's been foot and mouth, fires, fuel strikes, all sorts of floods. We usually get involved at some stage. So I'm not surprised that he considered that. But it's a question of using the military for things that are appropriate for the military to be used on, and not trying to become extra policemen. Yeah. And I heard Martin Hewitt on the radio this morning. There's no question if the military got involved that we would be involved in sort of face-to-face engagements with the public. Backfilling is one thing, freeing up trained police officers to do stuff directly with the police. So we are the nation's resort, sort of formed body of last resort, if you like. We're paid for by the taxpayer, and we should be used as necessary. But we're not pseudo-policemen.
I had a horrible image, Lord Dannatt, of a tank coming up my road with a man with a loud hailer saying, "Please put your face mask back on." You're not foreseeing that kind of dystopian idea play out on the streets of the UK.
I don't think that would be ideal. After all, the tank gun might go off and might blow your house away.
That's not ideal at all.
I think I wouldn't do that. No, I mean, I think just take a situation where a town was really, really struggling to find sufficient police to do what policemen do, and there was a major incident. And you often see on television police cordons with policemen standing there, just keeping the public away. Well, that's the kind of backfilling thing that you could ask soldiers to do, But again, also, you must remember that the military have been very involved in the COVID-19 campaign already, helping build the Nightingale hospitals. Unfortunately, they weren't used that much. And also, again, people have seen on television soldiers manning testing centres. So the military is already involved, and there are well-worked procedures under what we call military support for the civil authorities, sure, whereby the Home Office can call the Ministry of Defence and say, "We need your help," but not face-to-face tasks in front of the public. That's for trained police to do, not for soldiers to do.
When a Prime Minister makes an announcement like that in the House of Commons, can they just make it? Would he have had to have double-checked that with the current head of the British Army?
Well, whether he did or whether he didn't, I don't know. But what he will have known, and his advisors will have known, is that there are agreed procedures whereby civil authorities can call on the military to help. I mean, sometimes it's when armed response is required. I mean, if you think back, for those who are old enough to remember the Iranian siege when the SAS went in, and that's an extreme example of where the military gets involved. But then, I've already mentioned, when places flood, often you see pictures on television of soldiers filling sandbags and helping man defences. Yeah. So it's something we do as part of being citizens in military uniform, if you like, helping out at home.
Indeed.
Within our spare capacity.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point.
I was just trying to think the last time. Sorry, do carry on.
Well, I was going to say, the army isn't as large now as it was. I mean, when I was in charge 10 years ago, we were over 100,000. Now it's trained strengths of not much over 70,000. And of course, a lot of those people are deployed elsewhere doing other things. So it's not a bottomless pit of manpower.
I think the last time I remember in any numbers seeing the Army on Civvy Street was during the Olympics. Remember, the Army took over when one company was unable to carry out their contracted duties, shall we say?
No, well, that's absolutely right. I mean, I was Commander-in-Chief, the number 2 post in the Army, when we won the Olympics. And I got some of my staff to ring the Home Office and say, just thinking ahead, come 2012, what support do you want from the military? And they said, oh, no. These will be civilian-run games. Fine. Of course, when push comes to shove at the last minute, when someone needs bailing out, it was G4S and they completely mucked it up.
Indeed.
The Army got involved.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We are the nation's formed body of trained people, well-led, well-motivated, of last resort.
That was a superb piece of second-guessing on your part, I have to say, back then.
Well, but we just kind of knew we needed eventually.
At some level, indeed. And just in terms, it's hard to tell, of course, how this COVID story, Lord Dannatt, will pan out. But, I mean, what do you instinctively sense? I mean, can you really imagine troops on our street?
Ideally not. But if in some circumstances I can't actually entirely envisage that the civilian police become overfaced. I mean, we're not going to get into crowd control issues. We're not going to get into rioting and that kind of stuff. I mean, when Extinction Rebellion cooks off in Parliament Square, the Met knows how to deal with it. It happens up and down the country. I think that if there is going to be any requirement for military support, it'll be much more backfilling, backroom type stuff, more logistic support, helping out in test centres and that kind of stuff. I don't see formed bodies of men marching up and down High Street saying, put your mask on. That's the police officer's job.
Indeed. So I can sleep easy knowing a tank probably isn't going to come up my road, which is...
No, if it does, it'll wreck the highway, I can tell you.
I'll just say...
70 tons of Challenger tank will wreck your High Street.
I'll just say, do you know I know the former Chief of General Staff of the British Army? That's what I'll say.
Absolutely, why not? Yeah,
they'll go straight into reverse on that point. Thank you. General Lord Richard Dannatt, former Chief of General Staff of the British Army. Always a pleasure to have him on and get his views on that.